What's up, guys? This is Metaler, and like I said in my Rising Rampage video, I was gonna get into my Dreamier deck profile. Now this deck, oh my gosh, guys, I finally received all the cards that I was waiting for. There's one or two that I am missing, and I will inform you guys of what that is so you guys could possibly make this deck yourself if you feel like it. Just know this is Metaler's deck profile on his deck of Dreamier. Let me give you guys a little more information on Dreamiers themselves. I recorded this and I kind of mumbled on, so I'm editing, I'm editing this to include this part. Dreamiers have a field spell called Joy and Terror, the Dreamier of Joy and Terror. They both have excellent effects, and they both swap out for another from main deck or hand. I believe there's one that swaps out for hand, but they banish themselves at the end phase to bring out their respective other. And most of their monsters also follow this. They have quick effects that let them tag out for another version of themselves, but that version is the coexisting element, because most of Dreamiers is light and dark, and they follow a pattern that if there's a light version of one of the monsters, there has to be a dark version, and their field spell follows the same logic. It does, because it's basically a light and a dark version of a field spell, but they have level 1s, level 8s, and level 4s. There's several versions that I like to think of it as a level 4, a Link, and a level 8 XYZ engine in this. My level 8s are all made by 97 Dragooblion or Dragooblion, however you pronounce that. But 97 brings out Neos 107, Neos Galaxy Techron Dragon, and Techron Dragon, guys, it's an amazing card, guys. This is my version of Dreamiers, and let me go ahead and get into it. Let me show you the excellent combos and the excellent stuff I've made for you guys today. Let's get into this stream, guys. This is Dreamier. So the first cards we're going to start off with is Ikelos, the Dreamier Sprite. This one is basically, you can add a Dreamier if it's special summoned by the effect of a Dreamier monster, then you can tag it out or tribute it out. I'm going to go ahead and just say tag out, because I'm going to have to use that word a lot, because they all kind of have this effect. But it has to be the corresponding field spell, and I'm comfortable at running 2 copies. Let's go ahead and get into the next monsters. Now that is our first light monster. Dreamiers are kind of like a yin yang thing. They're Dreamer, they're like mirror versions of each other. If you see, Sprite, which is the card I just showed you, is in the background of Mara, because Mara is the opposite of Sprite, and Mara's effect is that she could special summon a Dreamier monster from your hand. That includes the 4s and the 8s and the level 1s, of course. She just can't special herself out, and she needs the corresponding field spell to swap herself out for her Sprite, and it has to be the light one. There's a light and dark field spell as well. So we'll go ahead and get to our next monsters. Our next monsters, we're running at 3 copies because you want to see this, guys. This is one of your key cards. So if this is special summon, you can target one level 8 or lower Dreamier monster in your graveyard except itself, and then special in defense during the main or battle. By the way, they could swap themselves out during the main or battle. I thought that was an interesting concept again, so that's why I wanted to build them. It has to have the corresponding field spell to swap out for Foe. Foe is Basically just one to tag out into friend. I run it at 2 copies because this one isn't as good as friend, but it still opens up level 4 XYZ plays, and then of course it could go ahead and directly attack for 19. And then we'll go ahead and get into our first of our level 8 engine, this being the first of the Dreammare level 8s, the one of 2 Morpheus, the Dreammare White Knight. Basically, if she's special summoned by the effect of a Dreammare monster, you can activate this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn, and this goes really well with Joy. You have to target the higher level Dreammare monsters before the lower level, so that can add on to protection, and then you could swap her out with the corresponding field spell for our next level 8 Dreammare monster, Morpheus Black Knight. One of the more expensive cards as well in this deck, but you could get the unlimited. The unlimited is a little more cheaper. If this card is special summoned by the effect of Dreammare monster, you could target 1 card at the field and pop it. During your main or battle phase, you could swap it out for White Knight and have it not be destroyed during your opponent's battle phase, because they do apply on your opponent's turn as well, as long as they have one of the corresponding field spells. Now, our first level 8 is a very important one, very good addition to this deck. It might be a little expensive, but it's one of those tech cards you really need to run. You could reveal this hand, and then your opponent chooses one from your hand, and then you discard the chosen. See, the discard effect is also good, because say you do it with the Twin Twisters, that just means you get an extra pop, but instead of another spell or trap, you could pop a monster, so it could pop possible targets with the target one on the field, and then it's another level 8 to go into or level 8 XYZs. I will explain later. This one is Darkest Diablo, Lord of the Lair. Your opponent cannot target this face-up card. It cannot tribute this face-up card, and it cannot be targeted with effects. And then you could activate 1 per turn. If a dark monster you control is tributed except during the damage step, my bad. You could special summon this card from the graveyard or hand, by the way, and it's a level 8. It just plays into our level 8 engine, and it's really nice because one half of this engine is always going to be a light and a dark, so having the dark swap out, say foe swapping into your light friend, that just makes it better. I skipped another danger that I was supposed to go into, so let's just move that one aside and go with Thunderbird. Now, this is a cheaper option if you don't want to run BIGFOOT, but it is another way to get spell and trap removal, another way to get a level 8 on the field, and you could also pop a set spell. Oh well, I already said that. So basically, it's just a way to get another card off the field off of something like Twin, or just in general being a good level 8. And then our next card will be the first of the Envoys. This is Black Luster Soldier Envoy. At the beginning, this card came off the ban list, and I was like, yes. That just made me more motivated to build this deck. Of course, I have them in commons because I didn't want to pay for the, I think it was Ultra. There's a few printings of this card, but I paid for the commons because yes, they were the cheapest. But it is a very welcome card to this deck, because you could banish 1 light, 1 dark to then either get a banish effect, or just to have another level 8 on the field, and then you could always just use that banish effect, then go ahead and XYZ into a level 8. That's strategy I've been using. And then our last of the monster cards, Envoy of the End. This is Chaos Emperor Dragon. This also came off the ban list, and I was like, yes, this belongs in this too, because at one point in the duel, your opponent will have more cards than you, possibly. If you're not OTKing your opponent, you're gonna want to make them struggle, because this deck has a lot of recovery. Like, you just got to keep the card advantage in your favor, and there's a few cards I can explain how to keep card advantage in this deck. So Envoy the Dragon, of course, it's got its downsides as well. It pops itself, and you do have to banish the light and the dark, but you don't have to use that effect. You could just use it for the level 8 XYs, and that's gonna do it for our monster cards. Let's go ahead and get into our spells. So for the first of our spells, we're gonna get into it, guys. This is your guys' field spells, 2 individual field spells, but at 2 copies each. Let's get into our first one. It is Joy. Now, Joy, during the end phase, you can banish this card, activate 1 Dreamer Terror directly from the deck, from your hand or deck. You can only activate this effect of Dreamer Joy once per turn. Dreamer monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects or their monsters' attacks except by a Dreamer with the highest level. This effect only applies while you have a light monster, so you have to have a light monster on the field, you guys, to activate that effect. But as long as you have the corresponding field spell, then you could swap out the Dreamers. So it's basically just like, as long as you have the right light or dark at the moment, then you could benefit off of tributing, and then you could go into something like Lord of Lair. Alright, our second field spell, guys, is Dreamer of Terror. Now this one is basically the same thing. You could activate Joy from hand or deck, and then you can activate this effect once per turn. Each time your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent. That burn only applies while you have a dark. So when it says you can only activate it once per turn, it's saying you can only use that effect once per turn, but as many special summon monsters your opponent brings to the field, you're doing a consistent 300, 300, 300, 300. But that only applies while it's on your side of the field, not on your opponent's. So another spell we're gonna get into at 1, sadly, because of the ban list, Set Rotation. Now, Set Rotation lets you set 2 field spells with different names, which would be Terror and Joy, from your deck onto the field, and then 1 on your opponent's field. While either one of those cards remains set on the field, neither player can activate or set other field spells. Now that just helps with enemy field spells, like say Dragon's Ravine or Shipyard Shipping if you're facing plunders. Like, it just helps from preventing your opponent from activating a field spell of their own. And it also, as long as you have both Joy and Terror on the field, then they can't activate a field spell. So one expensive part of this deck I found out was trade-in. Trade-in at 3 copies, guys, will run you about 15 bucks, and that's not even including shipping. I had one from Joey's World, thank goodness, and then I bought 2 copies, which were about $5 with shipping. So these 2 will at least run you $10 by themselves, and then the one from Joey's World is just ridiculously priced. It's like $10 with shipping, guys. But this arguably is really important with all the level 8s. It's good for card advantage. It's good for having this one effect from a link monster I will show you guys, and it's just a generally good card, because you could also discard and get that effect from the danger monsters you're running in the shit. So dangers in level 8 is necessary for trading, so that's why I threw this in. Alright guys, so let's get into another 2 of, and then we'll get into all of our 1-ups. So our next 2 of is Dreamier of Phantasms. Now guys, this is a good card, but admittingly I saw it too much and it was clogging up my hands, getting a little bricky at 3, because you can only activate the search effect once per turn. But this lets you search out 1 Dreamier monster from your deck, and then you can bring it to your hand. But the second part of this effect is the continuous effect, but it is also great for your deck, because if you brought both field spells on with set rotation, then you could benefit from that too, because it makes your opponents lose 500 while your monsters gain 500. So that was a nice wave support for Dreamiers, guys, because although you can't apply the burn effect while Terror is on your opponent's side of the field, Phantasms, while it's on your side of the field, benefits from both of these, because it just has to be in the field spots, whether it's your opponent's or yours. Okay, so guys, we're gonna run into all of our 1-ups. Terraforming, of course, just to get that card you would need, any field spell you would need. Melody of the Awakening Dragon. You could discard 1 card. Again, another way to get the bonus effects from the dangers, and also a way to search out Lord of the Lair and Chaos Envoy. Of course, we gotta throw in a monster Reborn. There's a few situations where that saved me. The double or nothing, I will also explain this, because when an effect of Utopia is activated, or double or nothing obviously is searched off of Utopia double, and Utopia double doubles the attack of your monster you're gonna summon out. So it's just a really good card for this, but definitely want to run only 1. There's ways you could cycle it back into the deck, and I'll explain later, but I already showed you guys. Of course, it's obvious you want to throw in Raigeki. And then our last card for spells is Dreamier of Chaos. Now this just basically lets you summon out your boss monster, Dreamier's boss monster, their fusion. And basically, if Joy's on the field, you can summon by using materials from your hand, and if Terror's on the field, then you could banish from the grave, which also helps because of set rotation or Hypnagogia, because they put it on both sides of the field, and then this just uses it to banish from your graveyard the Dreamier correspondence. And that's it for our spells, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get into our extra deck and then our side deck. And I realized I forgot my 2 trap cards, guys. There can only be 1, because this deck also works around typings. You could play there can only be 1, which you can only have 1 type of a monster. You have to send a monster to the grave if you have that same typing of monster on the field already. And Hypnagogia, which lets you take a field spell from hand or deck, and then lets you place them on the field spell. So, which these two traps, while they seem slow, are pretty essential in the deck, guys. And that's my 40 deck card list. What's up, guys? This is Meddler with his extra deck portion of his Dreamier deck profile. Right here in the front, we got our little buddy linkuriboh right here. It's link 1, a dark link 1 that of course makes your opponent's monster lose attack when it's tributed. Also, tributed monsters, especially dark tributed monsters, are really welcome in this because of Lord of the Lair. And moving on to our next is our link to IP Masquerena. She is a very important part in this deck, of course, leading on to extender plays into extra boss monsters. Of course, there's the newest boss monster I've put in this deck, and I don't want to spoil it just yet, so let me go ahead and put this off to the side. But yeah, of course, IP Masquerena's effect is to use a link monster that you control, and IP Masquerena to basically special summon a link monster, and it also can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So of course, the other link monster we would usually be going for is Bujinki. I cannot pronounce that second name, to be honest, but it is a beast warrior. It's a it requires 2 monsters with the same level, and then it special summons 2 monsters, one from grave and then one from hand, both with the same level, and then you can immediately special summon a XYZ monster with those 2 material that you just got from hand and grave. And then you could go into our XYZ engine, which I will get to after the rest of these three links. So on to our next link is a mighty boss monster here, Mekk-Knight Crusadia. Mekk-Knight Crusadia, of course, is 2 monsters special summoned from the extra deck. While this link summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target it with attacks or target your other monsters with attacks or effects, except this one. And then it basically has protection with IP. So yeah, you're just making a non-targetable, non-effectable monster, along with making all your other monsters non-targetable, non-effectable. So also it gains attack equal to a opponent's monster that was special summon, I believe. No, it's just gain equal to an opponent's monster. So it helped me get around Link Dragon, which I noticed a lot of people haven't talked about. Ways to get around Link Dragon. This definitely is a way, because it's a non-targeting plussing effect, and it's not targeting to the dragon either. Link, 5-headed Link. So he just gains that plus 5,000 on top of the 3. So yeah, that's just straight up. That's straight up just a perfect boss monster in this deck. Then another link for in this deck, it is Saryuja Skull Dread. Now guys, this card, arguably one of the steepest costs in this deck, but worth it, because there is the chance of you opening with double or nothing, and the fact that there's a chance you could put double or nothing back into the deck so that you could go into your XYZ plays. That's just amazing. And then it's a 3,000 beater. Well, it's a 28,000 beater, and then it has 2 other effects, but those 2 other effects are not, like, that's the opposite of what Saryuja is usually doing. You could also use IP's effect to go into Saryuja, but that I don't see it is worth it, because I'm only using it for the drawback plays. And then our last, but not least, yes, this was periodically the last monster that I bought for this deck. I have to be so careful with this. Blackluster Soldier of Chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I said you could put money into this deck, but yo, I've only had this for about a week, and I've been planning basically to have this from day one. This is what made the deck great, guys. Honestly, it's so easy to get a level 8 in this deck on the field, and then 2 other monsters. It's so easy with friend and foe. It's so easy to pull Soldier of Chaos out of nowhere. If you're able to run 2 copies, I recommend it. I honestly recommend it. Like, you could take out linkuriboh. You could take out linkuriboh to run another copy of this Soldier of Chaos, guys. I feel so good finally holding this. I was mentioning that I was missing 1 or 2 cards. This was the card I was talking about. So yeah, as the final link engine in our link engine, the final link in our engine, but not the weakest link. Definitely none of our links in this are weak. They all have a specific purpose, and I believe that's what makes this link engine pretty solid. So we're gonna go ahead and go on to the only fusion I have. So let me go ahead and swoop these up real quick. And just, you know what? We'll put this on top just for the subs. You guys know who I'm talking about. Alright, so on to our fusion. Our only fusion in this. Yes, you could run this at 2 copies, but I see as the resources could be searched through archetype. I feel like running 1 is necessary, but running more than 2 is not. So this is Oneros, the Dream Earthling. Basically, it just means the king of the elves. And he's both a light and dark on field. He gets a pop effect for the Dreamer's tag out effect. So if you tag flow out for friend, he gets that pop effect because a Dreamer tagged out in front of him, basically. So on to probably one of the bigger engines in this deck, starting of course with the papa of it all, number 97, Draglublion. Okay, so Draglublion is a level 8, rank 8, XYZ, and its effect is to special out 2 light extra, I believe it's 2. You detach 1 material from this card, take 2 dragon number monsters with different names from your extra deck or graveyard except 97, special summon 1 of them, and then attach others as material. You cannot special summon or attack with monsters other than the one that you summoned this turn. There is a way to get around that effect though, and I noticed with number 107 and 107, well, it's number 107 Techron, Galaxy Eyes Techron Dragon, and then got the number C107 Neo Galaxy Eyes Techron. So they're both different name monsters, which follows the rules, and he gains a bonus effect because Techron is equipped to him usually. So he could negate all effects on field, which would negate 97 and allow you to special summon more monsters, more plays, make more plays. Even though that detach is steep, because as well as having him 4 material, he could make additional 2 other attacks on top of his original. So he can make a total of 3 attacks, and usually it's going to be a 5,000 beater, because Phantasms is on the field giving 500, but usually if it's not, it's a 45 beater that could attack potentially 3 times. So of course, to stop plays that I specifically see, or if I get set up first and 97 is out on the field, of course these are my 2 backups. If I don't want to go, if I'm going second, I'm usually gonna go ahead and pick Neo Galaxy Eyes, but these 2 are also very good picks for going first. 38, of course, being able to stop an effect once per turn, and Utopic Dragon being a 4,000 beater, along with having a negate a target and destroy. So yeah, those 2 are pretty great to our level 8 engine. And then our level 4 engine, which is quite small, and of course the leader of it is Utopia Double, along with Utopia and Utopia Beyond. Utopia being there for the 5,000 attack on top of the 2,000, or on top. Utopia being there for Utopia Double's effect, giving it that 5,000, and then with that double or nothing, you get that 10,000 to the face. And then of course, if a opponent has a really high boss monster and I'm looking to get rid of it, what's a better way than hitting them with 6,000 to the face after making that boss monster attack become 0? So yeah, this has been the extra deck portion of Dreamer. Guys, let's get into the side deck. My bad, I think I forgot about it. I just want to make this just to make sure. So for the first of our side deck is a card that I like to put in the deck a lot. We're at 40 cards as it is, so this side deck is just wonderful, and it's a good way to push this deck a little more competitive. I also put this in my side to show you that yes, you could put more money into this deck to make it better than it originally just is, and the more you put into it, the more wins you're gonna see. Like I've noticed since I put evenly matched, I had them lying around and I wasn't really using them. I just had them sitting, and I just wanted to ramp up this deck a little more, so I just put into just to test the waters. And honestly, you could run it at 3 and even be comfortable. Now I'm running 2 twins in the side, obviously something that you want to run in the main deck depending on what deck you're going against. That's why I have it on the side, because not all decks need that major spell and trap removal, but it is a good way to get that extra effect off of the dangers. Our next side card, of course, is another expensive tech option. Again, this is in the side deck for a reason. Not everybody can afford this, but again, if you want to see more wins out of this deck, you could easily improve this, make it more competitive by adding Ash Blossom. Of course, running it at 3 copies, because seeing it at 2 before, I wasn't seeing it enough, and then seeing it at 3, it's excellent, because this deck either way has a good way to build in the momentum, getting more cards off of the trade-in. Of course, I have to include the other 2 copies of Sprite and Mora. Of course, I just don't like running them in main deck, even though I do see some plays where I need to see more of them. I just feel comfortable at running 2 copies. So let's get into our next 2 of, and that's going to be our third copy of Joy and Terror, or Terror and Joy. I did it completely backwards. But of course, I have the 2 copies in deck because I feel most comfortable that way. And then I have 2 copies of Chupacabra. Chupacabra is a nice tech option as well in this deck. It lets you get back those dangers that you may have discarded off of the twin. It's just a good way to get that recovery and card advantage back after making those major plays. And our last copy of Phantasms, again, I feel comfortable at running this at 3. It's a little, or at 2. It's a little bricky at 3 is what I was going to say. And yeah, basically that's my 15 cards in side deck. Well, it's 14 because I'm missing the last copy of Evenly Matched, but I will probably end up throwing the last copy in there soon. And that is the side. Guys, that has been my deck profile on my Mint OTK deck. Remember, if you ever see Meta Alert with some mint sleeves with yellow side deck sleeves, yes, yellow side deck sleeves, my guy, it sticks out in a mint deck. Like, why wouldn't you? You have to run something that sticks out in your main deck from your side, or from your extra deck, so you don't get the cards confused, and so that you don't also get that automatic loss for having one of your extra deck cards in your main deck. So yeah, that has been my deck profile on Dream Mirrors. It's literally a deck that was destroying my reputation as a Yu-Gi-Oh player at one point, but it has brought me so many wins, so many losses, because I was still playing with the deck. I'm still not done, I would like to say, but I'm pretty near close, and that's why I made this video, because I wanted to bring you guys my perfect version of a OTK deck. And this is a deck that I have been running as my main deck because my Dark Magicians wasn't finished yet, and now that Dark Magicians is getting closer to being finished as well, be on the lookout for my Dark Magician deck profile as well. This has been Meta Alert, you guys, with my Dream Mirror deck profile. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, and go ahead and hit that notification button to know when I'm uploading next, guys. This has been Meta Alert. Remember to keep it meta, and I'll see you next time on next video, guys. Peace out.